Good evening, and welcome to the third Parent Academy for Southmore High School. My name is Penny Clark, and we put together a slideshow to help parents get the most out of the Parent-Teacher Conference. Oftentimes, these can be stressful for both the teacher and the parent, and parents often go into this not knowing really what to ask or how to navigate their way through this. So hopefully this will help you and give you some really good tips as you go through the evening on Thursday or the morning on Friday of parent-teacher conferences. The first thing is to make sure that you have established a relationship. A communication piece is extremely important because you should be developing a relationship with the teacher so that you and the teacher can be a team to help your child grow. The mutual goals that you set for your child, meaning you and the teacher set these goals, as well as your child, will help your child to get the most out of the class. I would go in with a set of questions before the conference, and I've included some questions as samples that might help you to get through this. Your approach to the conference is also vitally important. It's important that you go in with a team mentality to where you look for answers and solutions to help your child grow. It's never a good experience for you or for the teacher or the child, if you want to get down to it, if you go in with an angry approach. Should the child attend, I would definitely take the child with you if at all possible. This will also give the child the opportunity to answer questions, help the teacher to understand where the child is coming from if that needs to be navigated. If you do not have Parent Portal, this will be a great opportunity for you to get that. In getting Parent Portal, you will get updates on attendance, grades, missing days, missing assignments, and so forth. You can always email the teachers and ask the teachers what the grades are, but this is a quick reference. I would make sure that I take a pen and paper with you so that you can take notes during the conversation with the teacher, and always make sure that you debrief afterwards. Before the conference, make sure that you've reviewed the handbook online if at all possible, and look for expectations. Review the teacher syllabus on the web page. Click on the teacher's name and just look and see what's in there, especially their Canvas page. That's also vitally important. And of course, prepare questions that you do want to ask. During the conference, I encourage you to listen carefully, not so you can respond, but so that you can learn from what the teacher is saying. The teacher is the academic person in the classroom as far as giving you insight on how your child is doing. And I would definitely take that advice. Offer your perspective, remain proactive and collaborative. If you feel that your child is not able to learn from that particular learning style, then explain that to the teacher and how the teacher can help your child to learn whatever skill it is. And don't be afraid to ask questions during the conference. After the conference, I would follow up with an initial email. I would continue to be proactive and involved in your child's academic career. And I would continue to ask questions and meet again if necessary. And of course, always thank the teacher. Some questions that you might ask just about performance. What's your teaching style? That's always an important question because you want to make sure that the teacher understands your child's learning style. And sometimes those don't go together until a teacher makes a change. And oftentimes a teacher can tell what your child's learning style is. But it may help if you have paid attention to this and can give them some insight. What are some of my child's strengths in your class? What are some of my child's challenges in your class? How does my child do with homework and quizzes and tests? You might see that your child does really well on homework, but not so well on tests and quizzes, and the teacher can possibly give you some insight on that. What can I do better to support my child's academic career and academic success in your class? This will be a really insightful question, and hopefully the teacher can give you some good tips on this. How do you promote independence and self-guided learning in your classroom? In other words, giving the skill and allowing the child to move forward with the skill, even grappling with the skill, and not giving them all of the information right away, but letting them work their way through the processing phase and to be able to learn and move to higher level. The emotional state. How does my child act in social situations with authority figures? That's an important one. Does my child like to be involved in class discussion or with peers? And this is important because this will tell you and the teacher if your child is shy and doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't feel confident, and what can I do to help my child become more confident in this subject matter? It might be that some tutoring is needed. Your child might hold off on answering questions because he or she may not know the answers and may not want to be embarrassed. So it may be that there needs to be additional resources and help with that particular skill that they're working on. What can I do to better promote the behavior and expectations that you require? That will also be an insightful question. It may be something as simple as your child needs to listen more in class. Your child needs to sit still and pay attention and not try to play on their phone. That's always an insightful thing to learn. Classroom, how often do you quiz or test or give homework? Does the school offer tutoring? Oftentimes you'll see in a school that the teacher may tutor at lunch, and students may not want to give up their lunch, but if they are not doing so well in a class, that certainly is a learning curve that they need to understand they can go to that resource to get help. And oftentimes we have students in Honor Society who are willing to tutor. What is your philosophy on classroom discipline? As far as curriculum goes, what skills are you working on to develop right now? And this will help you as a parent because there may be some things that maybe you need to brush up on to be able to help your child. How do those skills relate to the goals of the entire school? It should fit within the goals of the school to be engaging, to be moving forward in the standards of whatever the particular class is. What are 5 of the most important skills that you want students to develop this year? The teacher should be able to give you those right away, especially if they have honed in on the standards and the goals for the class. Communication. What is the best way to contact you? Is it by calling the school? Is it by emailing you? What is the best way? Can I tell you more about my child? There may be some things that parents don't particularly want to share in an email, but after they get to know the teacher and the teacher's learning style and philosophy and so forth, they feel more confident and comfortable with the relationship to be able to share more about their child. Should I check Parent Portal daily? And should I check Canvas? Good questions. What activities can we introduce to support my child's learning? There may be that there needs to be set time to do homework, and the teachers often will encourage that. Maybe a downtime in the evening where you talk about what was learned today, what skills the child is going to learn in certain classes, especially certain classes that they have challenges in. What do you suggest I do at home if my child is struggling with your projects or your class in particular? And this relates to the previous question. Is there something that you as the parent can do to support your child and loan to what the teacher is teaching? What is my child's overall attitude in your class? That's important because if a child's attitude is that I do not want to learn, no matter what the lesson is from this particular teacher, the teacher needs to know this, and they need to be able to work together, the 3 of you, as a team to help to break down these walls so that your child overcomes that. Because in the long run, the child is the one that will be receiving the grade and the knowledge for the class. What challenges are you having with my child? Good question also. When can we follow up on my child's progress? My suggestion would be that you always follow up within the next 2 weeks. If your child is not doing well in a teacher's class, then make sure that you keep up with that teacher. Not to become, overly excessive, but to let the teacher know that you are concerned and that you are on top of this so that you can support them as they work through different skills. At the same time, I say this, if your child is excelling in classes and doing really well, that also needs to be recognized because the child has been obviously working very hard and diligently to do well in that particular class. Okay, to follow up and wrap up, remain vigilant in your child's education. This is your child, and you want to make sure that your child is receiving the best education. Remain proactive, collaborative, and have a team mindset in all your dealings with your child's teachers. Thank the teacher for the insight and the perspective. Contact your child's counselor, principal, and teacher anytime for more information. If you should have questions about scholarships, Moore Norman Technology Center, the programs, the visits there, or anything that you've heard about and you want more information, please feel free to call us. The grade level principals are, the head principal is Mrs. Chelsea Conley. The 9th grade principal is Mrs. Toscani. The 10th grade principal is myself, Mrs. Clark. The 11th grade principal is Miss Clayton. The 12th grade principal is Mr. Braggs. Our counselors here at Southmore for A through DE, Mrs. Lancaster. DI through H, Mr. Chapman. I through MO is Mrs. Dragg. MU through SI is Mrs. Clifton. SL through Z is Miss Lusick. And our freshman counselor is Mrs. Williams. Thank you for being your child's advocate. And I want to thank you for taking time to watch this PowerPoint. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call us. We are here for you and your child. I am in hopes that this proved well and that you can get the most out of the parent-teacher conferences. Have a good evening.